Beastmen are one of those factions that I feel doesn't get enough love. They're definitely a very fun faction to play, can be quite challenging. Today I wanted to highlight this replay from Lenorm because it does show some of the strengths of Beastmen, some of the reasons why I like them. They're fast and aggressive in terms of Vanguard. They're not quite as egregiously OP right now as Slaanesh. Definitely a little bit of a play style, a lot more hit and run focused, and they also have access to some really great monsters. Historically, they have struggled with some things, but let's go over the builds here first. Lenorm coming in here with the Taurox, the Brass Bull, and the Bloodbrute Behemoth, both very good choices against Nurgle. He's got two casters as well, Bray Shaman Lord of Wild here with just Evolve, and it looks like Pit of Shades there on the Bray Shaman of Shadows. Some Ungor Raiders already teeing off on the poor Nurglings. Vanguarded in way too close. We've got some Ungor Spearman Herd, Tuskor Chariots, and some Centaurs as well. I like the pick of all the mobility here. Nurgle can take a surprising amount of mobility, and this Nurgle build is actually pretty solid. He's got a bunch of Poison Warhounds here with the Furies, some Throwing Axes as well, so a nice, wide mobile force, and then a very solid center with Kugath, the Bog Barons to provide even more tankiness, some Exalted Plague Bearers, and two regular Plague Bearers as well. Would have been nice to see if he had the funds actually to get the... what are the... I forget the name of the Regiment of Renowned Plague Bearers. Anyway, the Stooges, that's right. Definitely the Nurglings are vanguarded way too close, though. They're going to get immediately attacked by the Beastmen here under Taurox color scheme, which it defaults to now for whatever reason when you're playing multiplayer and custom battles. But Tuskor Chariots are going to get in here along with the Spearmen and wreck them in a big hurry. Ungor Raiders also contributing a little bit, but the Nurgle Swarm starts attacking on the flanks immediately. We get some Warhounds coming in, the Marauder Horsemen as well, and all of this stuff, especially with the Nurglings supporting these mobile units, which is a good use case for them. It's a lot for something like a single unit of Centaurs to deal with, so it's going to be tough for the Beastmen fighting here in the woods. All of these infantry-sized Nurgle mobile units, like the Bats, or not the Bats, rather, but the Furies and the Hounds won't be subject to the Woods penalty. That being said, none of the Beastmen units here are going to be subject to the Woods penalty. They all have this Woodsman trait, which, you know, normally large units would get debuffed by the Woods, right? Many of you may know that, some of you may not, but over here on the other side, the Nurgle mobile engagement is going a little more poorly. The Poison Warhounds for the Beastmen side and the Centaurs pressuring very nicely through the woods here. They've got the Regiment of Renowned Ungor Spearmen as well, supporting, which is just great. Kugath starting to get things rolling here in the woods. I mean, fighting in the woods for Kugath will protect him from the Ungor Raider fire, which is going to be important, but at the same time, he is also going to be suffering those debuffs from the forest. But yeah, Centaur is getting kind of a little bit isolated from any support units, get taken out relatively quickly. It's kind of to be expected. So both players pushing fairly well at this point. In terms of Beastman play here, I mean, it's going to be tricky to kill Kugath, so I actually like this, you know, the Bloodbrute and Taurox not over-focusing him while the battle's still ongoing. They're focusing on utilizing their strengths, which is primarily, in this situation, right, mobility, in order to kind of go around and win some of these engagements away from where Kugath's Death Blob is. Like, eventually, certainly, you're going to want these two healthy enough in the late game that they can 2v1 Kugath, but it's important to win all of these peripheral engagements as much as possible. Over here, I mean, the Centaurs and the Ungor Spearmen should be enough on their own to defeat these Nurgle Horsemen. It seems very appropriate, too, that kind of the Khorne-themed Beastmen are defending Khorne's home turf against Nurgle here. Too bad Taurox isn't on Khorne's roster along with the Bloodbrute and the Khorne Minotaurs. Honestly, he probably should be. I don't know. Maybe some of you guys can correct me if I'm wrong on that, but it definitely feels like Taurox should potentially be on Khorne's roster. But anyway, at this point, the Bloodbrute Behemoth's going to get in. It regenerates in melee, of course, which is going to make it ideal in a big grind fight like this. Help take out the Bog Barons here and take out Kugath. The Ungor Spearman Herd themselves, though, should be trading reasonably decent against the Bog Barons, assuming they can actually get some hits. Got a big old Evolve? No, not the Evolve. Traderkin, that's right. Debuffing the speed and also dealing a significant amount of damage there. But yeah, only 13 weapon strength. Thankfully, bonus damage in terms of bonus versus large, bonus versus infantry isn't going to be subject to the poison and, you know, other weapon strength debuffs that, like, the Bog Barons have access to, for example, right? this wasting sickness that actually debuffs weapon strength on top of poison. That stack is very strong. One of the reasons why the Bog Barons are so good for a blob-style build like this. But, oh man, looks like we're going to have a nice Pit of Shades here in the center as well. Should be decent. I mean, I might have just saved all the Winds of Magic for Traderkins, to be honest, given that Kugath and the Bog Barons are going to be the most high-value targets here. But anyway, yeah, bonus damage is nice. That being said, the Ungor Spearman Herd still are not just not an elite enough unit to grind through. The Barons of the Bog, of course, have their own bonus damage, 7 bonus versus infantry, and just high overall weapon strength. Means they definitely hit the Ungor Spearmen pretty hard. So it's a tough situation for them to be in, but, you know, still keeping all these peripheral units busy here, and also fighting 2v1 in the woods versus Kugath. A little bit hard to see what's going on. If we take a little over-the-shoulder perspective, we see the Bloodbrute Behemoth and Taurox fighting, and then more importantly, disengaging, trying to get cycle charges. Beastmen, of course, known for their charge bonus. 56 charge on the Bloodbrute Behemoth, 60 charge on Taurox, especially with the stacking weapon strength debuffs. Charge bonus is another source of damage that won't be debuffed by those effects, right? Because the charge bonus gets added to the weapon strength, you know, on the charge, and then obviously it fades over 11 seconds, but you still get some benefit. You know, for example, 5.5 seconds in, you'd get about half the benefit of that charge bonus. So every little bit of extra damage that you can get is essential in this type of a situation, especially, again, from those sources like bonus damage and charge that will not be debuffed. So Taurox coming out to help defend his Ungor bros, helping to defeat these Furies and keep them screened out at the very least. Nice play by the Nurgle player, too, to get them mobile up in the air, away from Taurox, swing over, kind of hammer and anvil with these Marauder Horsemen, break one unit, but the Centaurs are coming back to help bail out the situation. Bloodbrute and Taurox also right in position, just counterattack in, so this is what I'm saying. It's smart for the Beastmen to use their mobility exactly like this. Go engage for a little bit, pull back, you know, keep fighting these peripheral units, making sure you're efficiently taking out the support, and ensuring your own support units' survival as much as possible. I mean, these Ungor Spearmen and Ungor Raiders did get routed, but are starting to come back from rout, and their fire in the late game, especially as Nurgle's mobile units start to get finished off here, they're going to be in a very safe position to just rain in that extra damage. And again, missile damage when they're this far away isn't going to be debuffed by poison, and the Bog Barons debuff another source of reliable damage to try and chip down big old Kugath here. Taurox once again cycle charging, and that's the other element here that I wanted to highlight, is the cycle charges is pretty good. I mean, arguably you would want to cycle charge ideally 11 seconds, but depending on, you know, attack animations, how long they take to play out, sometimes it can be good to go a little bit longer, or just, you know, depending on the situation or what your micro can do. There's a lot of factors to consider, but a nice all-around surround here by the Beastmen. A lot of their units are having leadership issues, but that's okay. Kugath using his ranged attack to actually pressure the Ungor Raiders is pretty smart. I said they were going to be safe, not remembering that Kugath can yeet Atomic Belly Button Lint directly at their faces, but also has, I guess, some Winds of Magic here left for some spells. I might, depending on how much magic he has left, I might have saved all of that for a big Fleshy Abundance to heal all of these Exalted Plague Bears, because as good as Kugath and the Bloodbrute are, with all this Plague Bear support, they're going to have a hard time actually, Taurox rather, and the Bloodbrute are, they're going to have a hard time killing Kugath. Looks like he did just get a heal there. Fleshy Abundance, yeah, only on himself though, and again, if you had the magic to overcast that, helping out all of these Exalted Plague Bears would definitely be good. I guess some of them are just about heal capped anyway, but Ungor Raiders, unfortunately, Bug does take them a little bit too close. They get terrified away and eventually shatter, so they didn't end up actually contributing as much as the Beastmen maybe would have liked here. But Destroyers of Drakwald come in. They can provide a little bit of poison on Nurgle's side to help equalize the weapon strength debuffs. Just that little bit extra. Bog Baron's gone as well. It's going to be a lot more even for the Beastmen into Nurgle here, but smart to, again, pull back. Ungors, even with the poison debuff, are still going to be significantly faster than the Plague Bears and whatnot. So, and they do have a 7 charge bonus, which is, for a spear, I guess it's okay. I mean, not a lot, but it's something. With Look at that template just flying in the air there right before the spell goes off. Does quite a bit of damage to the destroyers. Nice hit from Nurgle. So both players still just scrapping hard at this point. Try and finish things off. Destroyers of Drakwold coming in once more, but 2v1, especially with the Blood Brute having plenty of heal cap space left. It's still, you know, basically full health. Has this strength from flesh, which is a huge 0.2% on that much HP is a significant amount of healing per second, and it means that the Blood Brute is, for both Beastmen and for Khorne as well, I would say a very strong pick in this matchup, especially in a number of other matchups as well, but historically, Beastmen have had a hard time killing large, heavy single entities with either a lot of armor or HP, or both, preferably. Kugath doesn't have the most armor in the world. He has quite a bit at 70, and a huge amount of HP, and more importantly, healing. Can just sustain so much damage, but when the Beastmen got Taurox's DLC, of course, Taurox himself is a pretty good tool for fighting stuff like this, but the Blood Brute in particular, with that heal now being percentage-based, better than ever. Let's keep it close, keep it in cinematic cam as the Blood Brute and Taurox cycle charge through the woods, kind of alternating one after the other. I'm not sure if Kugath is technically in the woods right now. If you could force this engagement to happen in the trees, it would obviously benefit the Beastmen. I think there are certain, you know, rule sets that I don't know exactly what the ruling would be on that situation. I mean, certainly it seems like he's attacking, so I don't know. And he's not camping in the forest per se, but trying to draw Kugath into the forest, I think, is acceptable. I don't know. To me, that seems like it shouldn't be banned in any tournament rule set, but I think this is a ladder game anyway. Lenorm can correct me. Maybe it's one of Human Boy's Vermin League games, which I'm going to be talking very soon. You guys are seeing this. I'll be talking more about that very soon. For the final engagement, here it goes. I mean, I say final engagement. This is going to go on for some time just because Kugath is such an absolute unit to try and actually kill. But at this point, I mean, the Blood Brute Behemoth has a huge HP advantage, is taking relatively little damage from Kugath, so I think we can safely fast forward through the rest as they slug it out. There you go. It's a victory for the Slaughterhorn tribe and for Lenorm and the Blood Brute Behemoth and Taurox. Great showing there, and just such a strong tool to have in your toolkit in a matchup like this. Nurgle honestly doesn't have a lot of great tools of taking this guy down other than just grinding him down, which, again, as this game showed, it can be tough. I do think Nurgle maybe could have made some other decisions, try and deal more damage to him, losing the Nurglings early on. Had they supported the mobile engagement, that would have helped, although I don't know what any of these mobile units are really going to do against the Blood Brute. I mean, I guess the throwing axes, ranged attacks would help, definitely. But I don't know. Bog Barons, I kind of like the pick here to make like an unholy debuff blob, but at the same time, they are pretty expensive, and their damage in this battle wasn't particularly worth it, so maybe you replace those with something else and go from there. Not really sure. I don't really play Nurgle a lot. I don't really enjoy their playstyle that much, so I honestly am not an expert to tell you what would be an ideal thing to take against the Beastmen. But Beastmen definitely seem pretty solid. I would call them relatively middle of the pack. I definitely need to play them some more, but a lot of their old tools are still just as strong as ever. Blood Brute is definitely a highlight in any matchups where it's not going to get absolutely shot to pieces. So there you go. Hopefully you guys enjoyed watching this one. If you like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification. Every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again. See you next time.